I'm one of the members of the Religion, Spirituality and Interfaith sector of the Global Charter for Compassion. It's good to have you with us this morning. We have some panelists that we're going to introduce to you shortly from different parts of the world. But as is our practice when we gather together, we take a moment in what may be called a compassionate pause to just become present to ourselves, to this moment, to the people that we're with, and also to ground ourselves in the place where we are located. So I invite you just for a moment to perhaps settle comfortably in your chair, perhaps to cast your eyes down or gently close them. To start to become aware of your body and the sounds around you. And as we focus in, just gently let them dissolve away. To come into that still, sacred space which transcends time and space. Connecting us with ancestors and the first peoples of the land on which we live. In this sacred space, we honor that ancestry and those people. We find our unique place in that and a strong sense of connection. And as we re-emerge to connect with each other in this webinar and in this task, we come with a great sense of gratefulness, of openness, and of compassionate commitment to the cause of peace. Thank you. Thank you. This morning we want to introduce you to one of our charter partners, the Goi Peace Foundation. And Elaine might put the link to Goi in the chat box so that it's available to you. Our moderator this morning is Dr. Elaine Christine. She leads the Religion, Spirituality and Interfaith sector of the Charter. And she is the author of the Peace Prophecy Star Child, host of the annual World Peace Tele-Summit, and a volunteer judge for the 2020 International Essay Contest for young people. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, Terry. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to welcome everyone to help celebrate the International Youth Day 2020, and we are here to envision global compassion and peace. It is my pleasure to welcome an esteemed panelist, Dr. Lisa Berkeley. She leads the peace sector for the Charter for Compassion. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I would also help to light a candle on behalf of the Charter. It is a beautiful white candle with a rose on it, maybe several roses. And what that represents is our holding sacred space for this conversation and for the replay, as well as the free 24-hour webathon that the Charter is hosting this weekend, August 14th to the 15th, and I will put that link into the chat box for you to register free to the webathon, and we go around the world beginning Pacific time, 5 p.m., August 14th. And now it is also my pleasure to, and the Goi Peace Foundation is to be featured, I wanted to share the time, on 14th of August at 9 p.m. That's Pacific Daylight Time, and that would be the 15th of August, 1 p.m. in Tokyo, and also 2 p.m. in Sydney. So we look forward to featuring them on our webathon, and also they are our special guest today. So it is my great pleasure to introduce my new friend, Mr. Yashio Mochizuki, the Program Director of International Affairs for the Goi Peace Foundation. And welcome, Yoshi. Are you on mute? Can't hear you. So look at the settings on your computer and double check. Always why we do the sound and lighting check, right, guys?
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can. So I hope you heard my nice welcome, and it is your pleasure to introduce two of the youth that have been past winners for your youth essay contest. So Yoshi disappeared. Oh, that's good. That's kind of like magic. But we heard him. We did hear him, so he'll be back. That's what that means. He'll be back. It is my great pleasure to introduce two of the past youth essay winners of the Goi Peace Foundation. There you are. It's just like magic. Okay, Yoshi, I'm going to have you introduce the youth. But we can't hear you, so you have to do the same magical trick you did before. I know it worked before, so it will work again. Sometimes patience is the best thing we can do. All right, while he's doing that, I'm going to put in the link for the webathon and remind everybody to join in the fun. It's going to be 24 hours around the world, and they got 6 segments. It's going to be streaming on whatever, Facebook and YouTube and things. So definitely take this link and join in. I can't believe Joshua disappeared again. Well, all right, there's the link. And the show must go on. How about Narayan, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about your youth essay that was a contest winner.
Hello, everyone. My name is Narayan Kulkarni. I'm currently a Master of Health Administration student at the University of South Florida. I won the youth essay contest for the Goi Peace Foundation's International Essay Contest for Young People in 2015. My essay was entitled Building Peace Begins from Within, and I talked about life experiences I had post 9/11 in which I faced a lot of challenges post 9/11 in the aftermath, and the ways in which some of my peers treated me, but also discussed the ways in which I looked within in order to find the tools to then become an empowered individual, and then some of the steps I took to promote peace and interfaith dialogue, especially as an undergraduate student. So it's nice to be here, and thank you all very much for allowing me to share my thoughts in this panel.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're really happy to have you too. And Maya, can you give us a little scoop on what your essay was and what you're doing now?
So I'm Maya, and I'm currently 15. I'm studying in 11th grade, and I'm from India. And I won the 2019 Goi Peace Foundation essay writing competition. And my essay was about kindness, and it was called Kindness, a Choice, and it was about how every act of kindness can ripple and cause a everlasting wave of kindness.
That's beautiful. And so which part of India are you in now?
I'm currently in the south in a small town called Kodaikanal.
I've been into Delhi and into the north of India, back to Gangotri and the high Himalayas, and back to where the glacier melts at Galmuk, the Galmuk Glacier. Mm-hmm. And that was during 9/11. Yeah. So
we're in the presence of some very, very wise young people by the sound of it.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Can I ask some questions? Is that permissible while we're waiting for Yashio?
Sure, go ahead.
So, I would love to hear from you two people who are really the voices of the future. You know, what you've learned and how this essay contest has affected how you see the world in either a positive area or an opportunity for growth. And I'd love to hear from both of you. Whomever wants to speak first.
Okay, I'll go first. I think writing the essay contest was a really good way to reflect on a certain very difficult life experience of mine. And in addition to doing the reflection on it as I grew up, when I was, say, 7 or 8, and then all throughout my adolescence, that was very meaningful. But then to have a cumulative reflection on how I not only grew, but was able to take some action on it in a constructive way. That was one piece of valuable insight that gave me, I guess, for my entire life trajectory. And that really helped me see that as a young person, where I've been in a school system and in systems where there's very much a short burst of insider learning that's then directly applied, and then a reflection in a very quick cycle, that it helped me see that change at very meaningful and deep scales occurs over long time horizons. It also has really helped me see the importance of bringing together people in spaces like this panel for a broad discussion, and the value of such a discussion, the value of merely bringing perspectives into the picture, because those discussions are what catalyze change. And while that change may not manifest quickly, there is great value in having those discussions and those perspectives. And that was a key piece of my experiences. And it was really good to see that vicariously and reflect on that, as well as be able to use that lesson moving forward in my professional career.
Wow, thank you. And now that Yashio is back, we'd still love to hear Maya's response.
Yeah, so what I learned from the experience of writing that essay was, like Narayan said, was reflection. And also, I feel like I kind of had to nurture my writing skills. And after many years of building it, I finally decided to enter this competition. And I feel like it really helped my self-esteem, as well as it's kind of pushed me towards a career in journalism. So I'm thinking that maybe that could be something for my future, which could really help me. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And if I may add to something that Maya mentioned, because I really appreciate that you mentioned the aspect of storytelling and skill building, because even though I'm in a different career path in healthcare administration, but the skill of storytelling is very important in data analytics. And it's also in very technical professions like that, but also it's very important in being able to connect the dots between disparate experiences and also have the skill of communicating. And I believe, and having read your essay, I really appreciate your perspective on this as well, Maya. Every single person has a unique gift that they bring to the world. And whenever they're able to tell a story very well, they're able to reflect their authenticity to the highest degree. Now, if they don't necessarily like have that ability, everyone has some mode in which they're able to express themselves differently. And it just so happens that, say, Maya and I found writing as one way, but to all of our panelists listening, bear that in mind. If you have some best way to express yourself, then go ahead and do that, whatever that is.
We do have a question in the chat box, and we're going to go ahead and take that while Yashio is getting set up. And it's, how did each of you connect with the Goi Foundation? So we'll start with Thierry. How did you connect with the Goi Foundation?
Oh, that's interesting. I actually was visiting friends in Japan and took the opportunity to explore some connections through the work of the Charter. And I think originally I got in contact with the Goi Peace Foundation because of a connection in Australia with the World Kindness Movement. And I think I was asked to deliver a letter to them as sort of an emissary. Through a series of connections, I met Yashio and Masumi, who he works with, that was a very rich connection. And a little bit like Narayan says, that when we share our own stories or connect at a really kind of personal level, there's this kind of resonance in our common humanity. It might be quite different external experiences, but something resonates with us. And I think I felt that kind of personal resonance with Yashio. We've become good friends in the process, and it just opens up opportunities like this. So I'm very grateful for whatever brings us to this place.
And then Thierry, because we are colleagues at the Charter for Compassion, then when he heard that the 2020 Youth Essay Contest was looking for a few more volunteer judges, I said I would be happy to do that. And so I read 100 of the essays, and it was my privilege to spend the time to do that. And in doing that, Yashio and I have had many short conversations by email and become friends that way. So, but of course, I've always known about the peace polls and their work to heal the heart of Japan. So may peace prevail on earth has always also been a mantra of mine. And I have an origami doll that has that on the back of it, may peace prevail on earth. So we love the Goi Foundation. So who's next? I guess Maya, how did you hear about the essay contest?
So one day during summer, my aunt sent me an email and told me that I should apply for this contest. So I decided to just go for it. And I actually found out that I won about 3 months later. And I was sitting in one of my classes and checking my mail, and I saw it, and suddenly I started jumping up and screaming. And my friends were really excited for me, and my teacher was kind of very confused, but yeah.
And Narayan?
So the way that I heard of the Goi Peace Foundation's work was, funnily enough, talking about reflection. I was in the process of writing personal statements to apply for graduate programs. This was in the summer between my junior and my senior year. And there was a point in which, I'm a reflective person by nature and someone who likes to learn things by nature. So when taking a break, I was reading into, and I like to, for example, look at the work of UNESCO and such organizations. And so I was reading on the UNESCO website about some of the different work that they were doing at that time. And I had read that it was the 70th anniversary of UNESCO, and also the on the website of UNESCO, the Goi Peace Foundation's work had popped up. So I read about the organization's work, and it just so happened that the essay contest was there. And so I thought this would be a really good time for me to really look into my personal story and try to write that into a very organized fashion as I was being challenged to do professionally. And similar to Maya, I found out through email that I won, was very surprised because I'd never entered an essay contest. I quite honestly couldn't believe it either. And so once I, for example, had the chance to talk to someone from the Goi Peace Foundation, it really started to sink in. And then I gave a lot of thanks to a lot of the peers and mentors and teachers who had gotten me to that point, because I think that, and as we see in this panel, it's really about an individual and the work that they do is really a culmination of insights that they gain from their experiences and from others, but they have to fashion it in a unique way. And so I heard about the Goi Peace Foundation through that desire to learn, and I guess the culmination of a lot of people that had led me to that point.
That's great. Well, Yashio, do we have your microphone on now?
Yes, I'm trying from my mobile phone now. Can you hear me?
It's perfect. Can you turn it horizontally? It'll fill the screen.
Yes.
Can you turn it? Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay. All right. I think we should get started on our 6-step peace process. Is everybody ready to focus our energy now on behalf of world peace? And as you know, the Goi Peace Foundation began with Mr. Goi writing the message vertically, may peace prevail on earth. He was a scriptwriter, and with that message, he felt it would bring world peace. And so it is with honor to him as well that we bring this webinar to you. And we all need world peace at this time. The first question is from it's called Discover. And what we're here to discover the problem. The problem that we are addressing today, world peace. Each of the panelists will have 1 minute to talk about the first question, and that is, why don't we have world peace now? And Yashio, you're going to start, and then Lisa, Terry, Maya, and Narayan. That's the order, and so you don't need me to interrupt. When Yashio is finished, Lisa, you're up and you can unmute yourself, okay? So Yashio, off the top of your head and with your whole heart, why don't we have world peace now?
Yes, this covers the problem. Sorry, I'm not really catching. Can I pass on because we are running out of the time? And then I can.
Elaine is mute. Elaine, you're muted.
No worries. You can say pass if you're not ready to talk, but we'll catch you on. Maybe you'll be the last.
Thank you.
This question,
appreciate it.
Lisa. The question is, why don't we have world peace? Now, everyone has the generic 6 steps, but we take the generic steps and we make it specific to a specific issue, and we're dealing with the issue of world peace. Why don't we have world peace now?
I think that there are a lot of components to it, but since it's a minute to respond, I'll try and be quick. I think that first, the way that we know self is through knowing other. And so I think that we have been, I'm sorry? Oh, okay. I think that the other has been, in many cases, demonized, or we've taught to be afraid of the other rather than curious. I think that that's one thing. And I think another thing along those same lines is the systems of which we have. So we have the systemic perception of other. I lost my train of thought for a moment. I'm sorry. So it's other. I think too that also the knowledge of self and lack of education and courage to explore our shadow, quote unquote, shadow side, or our negative feelings, particularly anger, fear, sadness, and grief, because we don't fully see ourselves in all of our pieces. And then the last part of that, because of not knowing self and fear rather than curiosity of the other, I think that's led to a level of PTSD on the collective and individual level that we haven't had the skills to work through the process. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess like Lisa and Narayan said earlier, that for me, it all comes down to the personal. If I don't have peace within me, if there are broken parts of me, if there are parts of me that I'm not willing to accept or I haven't met yet or integrated with, then it's very difficult for me to experience peace in my personal relationships, in my workplace, in my community. It's difficult for me to understand and embrace and be respectful of the other. So for me, it starts from the inside out.
In my opinion, we don't have world peace because historically, a lot of many groups of people are culturally and traditionally marginalized within society. For example, the caste system in India, or racial marginalization, which is actually what gave the uprising in the Black Lives Matter movement currently. And I feel like that's one of the problems, that we don't have world peace because of this marginalization.
So in my experience, and when I think about this question, why don't we have world peace? I think it's a limitation in consciousness at the global scale, which impedes growth at the individual scale. Like Terry, I agree that the self is a key beginner in this process. And naturally, as the self increases in consciousness, there will be some challenges. But if the collective is not as developed, then it will be very hard. And if there will be very hard for there to be the ability for the self to go there. But at the same time, in the collective and human societies, there are clearly individuals or entities or selves that are at the forefronts of consciousness who need to be well developed, and a good number of them to then accelerate progress. And so in my experience, I think when we think about, in my experience, I think if I think about, say, 9/11, if I think about, say, like a lot of like Black Lives Matter and a lot of marginalization in America of people of color, as someone who's lived through that. And if I think about the economic and political challenges in America to advancing like other rights, I think a big issue is there is the fear of and the lack of consciousness at the collective scale, which makes it very difficult at the individual scale. So I think that disconnect between collective and individual consciousness and the limited amount of courage at the collective level to then agree with those at the individual scale who happen to have been at a very high level of consciousness to then go and accelerate that. There is that movement, but it's much slower than I think is needed for world peace to actually happen.
Yashio, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Maybe I'm repeating what everyone said, but I think compassion and love should be more aware by so many people. Looks like more people more focused on getting money or financial situation. And so I think the life is most important thing. And we should get back and focused on this to reveal the world. And yes, like a Charter for Compassion is doing the great job rolling on this and involving everyone. So thank you for your work. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your work. And now the second question, which is really, from the Discover process, we really find opportunity for change. And that's where we're going now, with the opportunity for change. And of course, the risk if we don't. But the opportunity for change is our second question. Imagine that we have world peace now. This is the Envision process. We have world peace now. What does it look like? And Yashio, do you want to go first or last?
Okay, thank you. Let me go first this time. So So I imagine starting a peace is like from our family and our neighbors. We can help each other, and if we do this globally, and we could really quickly get peaceful world. So very simple. Thank you.
So for me, so because my background and a lot of my work today is in public policy, I believe that we have policies that are rooted in care and in the interconnectedness between our beautiful planet Earth and all of her inhabitants, both those in human form and all living forms, animate and inanimate forms. On the level of care for humans, there should be access to food, water, shelter, and those are absolute human rights. I believe too that what peace on earth would look like is opportunities for education and creativity and supporting of visions and supporting positive human potential. When it comes to such things as disciplinary actions on people, I believe it's more about rehabilitation and care rather than harm. I just want to remind, I just learned this the other day, that I think it's in Maori, that there is no word for enemy. In fact, the translation is angry friend. And so that piece would be a key component into the way that we address humans.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I guess for me, it's kind of, it starts with the embodied experience, you know, perhaps just like we started this morning, that, you know, when I'm stressed or anxious or something like that, and I come to that stillness in my body and drop into kind of the depths of space and timelessness, there is this feeling of peace, and it's a kind of a softening, and I feel the you know, the pressure de-escalate, and so my sense is that if we experience world peace, there would be just an incredible softening of everybody and everything, and that there would be an increased openness and less anxiety about boundaries or constructs, and a much more flow into, you know, our relationships and our engagement and our being and our doing. So for me, it's you know, I imagine that softening and that opening and that flow.
I feel that the solution to most problems today come from the fresh minds of young people through an open and unbiased education. So to nurture young minds, the educational system needs to teach unbiased, complete, and balanced history. And one must understand all cultures and points of view. Schools these days need to model unity and diversity and facilitate the understanding that holding opposing points of view does not make the other person your enemy. And teaching acknowledgement and understanding of one another as well as each other's cultural backgrounds. Schools also need to teach and model altruism and compassion, which would then lead to empathy and empowering one another. And yet another thing that schools could do is facilitate thoughts and ideas for sharing of resources is imperative for the future.
So when I envision a solution for peace, I would think of it in this way. And I'm a fan of models, so I'll speak to several models that really inspire me. When I think about spiral dynamics, the model that is known to, say, Claire Graves and like others that worked with him, I would imagine society at stage yellow and above, in which there's a very strong understanding of the systems that are tangibly there, but people are able to feel a sense of unity and natural flow and oneness with those systems, there is an appreciation that with the living and the non-living aspects of reality, they are equally valuable, and there is a desire for everyone to go ahead and contribute to them. When I look at also, say, the idea of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, every single person has the needs of physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness, and esteem already fulfilled, and every single person is working at the aspects of self-actualization. And I think, similar to what Maya mentioned, a key piece of that is having a well-developed education system that will enable everyone within that are in the youth up to, say, the age of majority to be able to accelerate very quickly to the like stage yellow in spiral dynamics, or say the self-actualizing stage in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And people are able to be conscious creators in ways both small and big that contribute to a much more loving and conscious collective, while also being able to be fully expressive of themselves individually.
I love that. Thank you, Narayan. Now, the third question stems from the plan. So after we have discovered why we don't have world peace, and now we have a vision, and you know, without vision, people perish. So your vision is very important. But now that goal or that vision must become manifest, must become tangible, and that only happens with action. And that's why compassion is the action, the loving kindness in action. And so Charter of Compassion is all about that, seeing the world through that lens, right? That we see the suffering, but we take action to alleviate it, right? That's what we're all about. So what is one thing that you can do to bring your vision to manifestation? And again, Yashio, you want to go first or last?
Thank you. Let me go first. Yes, so my first, my action would be starting from my heart, may peace be in my heart, to expand my love and love and compassion to my family and my neighbors. That's like kind of basic for in our group, but yeah, I just instantly came to me. So very short, but thank you.
So I fully agree that it's living your life more from your heart. And as I've said in the previous question, a lot of my work is in public policy making and as an elected official here in the States. And so for me, living from compassion, and what am I doing? In the process of setting up ad hoc committees that will be working with local governments that are looking at how the city is growing, how the cities are moving forward. And then on the practical level, they'll be looking at issues of inclusion and diversity, which is both race and ethnic, as well as LGBTQ plus or LGBTQI plus communities, and racism, ageism, etc. The eradication of white privilege, looking at equity and dignity for all, care for the environment and our relationship with the earth and helping her thrive. Self-awareness and personal reflection, being present and mindfulness, so that the committee looks at each area of a city's agenda item through these various lenses to see how it can be improved on and have impact. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I guess for me, one of my kind of zones that I've been working in is in kind of the religious spirituality and kind of interfaith sector. And I'm very aware of the ways positively and negatively that religious and faith communities and their sacred books and text have been used to either advance peace or create conflict. And that's very tragic. In Australia, for instance, where we're becoming increasingly secular and fewer people are connecting with those religious and faith groups, one of the key issues is how do we create spaces for people to talk about the important issues like peace and compassion and you know, acceptance and those sorts of things. And so for me, it's about calling up the responsibilities of religious and faith communities and the ways that they can be proactive within their communities in advancing the causes of peace. But it's also beyond that, creating spaces where people can gather to talk about things that are really important, and to engage them with these personal processes that we've talked about, so that peace starts from the inside out.
So in my opinion, I feel like to effect change, there needs to be a paradigm shift in leadership style. And this doesn't mean tearing apart the system completely. I just mean kind of building upon the system that we currently have. And we find the system more accommodating to what the world needs. I feel like this has to begin in schools. Educational institutions are places where young people can think intelligently and dream, act without bias, if allowed to do so, and without narrow political, ethnic, gender, or religious boundaries. And I feel like that's exactly what would create a good leader.
So something that I would do to plan towards peace at a very, very general principle level would be to try to learn in both the conscious aspect of, say, doing meditative practices as someone who meditates daily, but also going ahead and to connect with the greater sense of being, but then also in the more pragmatic sense of Narayan as the individual perceiver, to look into and understand what it means to be someone in this world, and then see the ways in which I can then expand my circle of concern as much as possible in various different spheres of my life through making tangible contributions. In a family sense, that could be, for example, learning about my family members and connecting with them very viscerally, guided through the connection I feel in my meditation practice with all of reality, and then finding ways to then give back to them, whether that's like making tea for them or helping with dinner or like giving them a hug or other things like that. In a professional sense, that can be looking at the limits of what is currently in the profession and the highest consciousness ways that is manifested. So similar to, and I really appreciated a lot of Lisa's comments about some of the policies that she's advancing, as I similarly want to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and access in healthcare. So looking to in ways in which I can apply strategic thinking skills to help academic medical centers develop the best ways to look at and put forth culturally competent dialogue, or extend services to places which are naturally have been underserved, and do it in ways that is going to best respect their humanity, but also go ahead and make sure that everyone benefits to the best way possible.
Wow, that's amazing. First of all, I'm so happy to be on this webinar, because what I really love to do is, just give everyone a platform and a voice on behalf of world peace. And it's so exciting. But now what we do is the work. And it's interesting that Narayan was able to say, about meditation, it begins with self. So I'm asking all of the panelists to go inside. And as I reflect your views of this kind of like a right brain, we're sort of creating a collective consciousness right brain. And now the work in the 6-step peace process is simply to send love to what's taking your peace. So as I reflect to you what's taking your peace and what you're going to do about it, I just want you to go inside. You can close your eyes, you can breathe or whatever, but try to open your heart and extend that to the world as I reflect to you this group consciousness. So here we go. This is the work. So it begins at the heart level. And essentially we don't have world peace because there's lack of education and courage. And we're not exploring our shadow side or knowing ourselves. And we can't have this personal peace because parts of us are broken. And we have to work from the inside out. That's what we're doing. And we're just going to be sending ourselves a little self-love and compassion at this time as we do our work to open our hearts like a flashlight, but try to amp up that energy and really send it to yourself and then out into the community and to the culturally marginalized people that Maya talked about. And the caste system in India, if we could just maybe not abolish it, but change it, make it more accommodating to the needs and a paradigm shift for that India's heart would open. And we would not have a limited consciousness, the collective, beginning with this collective consciousness, and would send the love to 9/11 and all those souls that ascended so quickly from that tragedy, while I was in India having a total immersion at the source of the Ganges. And now with the BLM, and with some of the economic political challenges that are coming out of the coronavirus pandemic, which we hadn't even mentioned, but that is taking everyone's peace, throwing us into some fear in the collective, and we are going to begin to hold the energy to reverse that and send not a money focus, but a love and compassion focus, because as Yashio said, life is the most important, and we know this. So the vision is simply to love ourselves and our neighbors. We will have a peaceful world if we do this. But if we remember that our neighbor is not just the people to our left and to our right, our neighbors are the continents to our left and to our right, and our friends from around the world, and that all humans have a right to food and clean water and clean air and shelter and education, and that we want to support everyone in their human potential, and have no angry friends, that we all be at peace with our friends, and we learn to say, I'm sorry. We learn to say, I forgive you, and we learn to be a little bit more mature about that. So as Terry said, we have to embody peace. We just drop into this space where we get quiet, where we experience a softening in our heart, where our minds are open and learning and less anxious, learning about the flow and how all things are possible in time, and not to be so impatient that things must happen now. But with the fresh minds of the young people, those unbiased ones that embrace other cultures and understand and appreciate the diversity, we will empower one another, and we will grow in our empathy and share resources with our neighbors around the world. And as Narayan said, you know, we will then feel a sense of unity and oneness, and all become self-actualized as the education system teaches us to move up the hierarchy and not be complacent, but to help one another, turn around, extend the hand to the neighbor that is lower on the hierarchy and lift them up to become self-actualized. And in our plan, it is simply to send that love and compassion out into the world that needs it so. So as we live our life from the heart, as we live from compassion, we see cities growing and moving forward to more inclusion, to more diversity and dignity for all, and caring for the environment, planting more trees and teaching the youth mindfulness. It's something that I do in my own public school system. And the RSI sector, we are here to create that sacred space and to give everybody an opportunity to gather. And as Australia loves to say, let's talk about it. We do want to build what is needed and to educate the leaders of tomorrow, which is why we're inviting the youth to step up. You do not need our permission to become the leaders of tomorrow. You are already here and you are present, and we look to you for an unbiased, unprejudiced future as we learn to meditate and extend our circles of friendship around the world. We have India, Australia, Japan, and I'm on the East Coast, as is Narayan of Florida, and of course Lisa is on the West Coast in California. So we are all around the world. We give everyone a virtual hug that is listening to the replay. We hope that we have inspired you. And as we wind down our meditation, I would just ask all of you to begin to love and respect one another as the golden rule, to treating everyone as they wish to be treated. So in divine service, that was my close of my meditation.
Thank you, Elaine.
To the fourth question, which is a measure. And we are measuring on a scale from 0 being no love at all in your heart to 10 being all the love in your heart. How much love did you send or did you feel during your meditation? Yashio?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Elaine, for your guiding. I was with your guide. I was able to imagine so many different things. People suffering from COVID-19, for caring about the environment, even the sorry, there was just so many, but thank you. So I felt really strong compassion. Thank you.
So when I was focused in my heart, the intention was 10, and the experience, I hit a lot of grief. And that is definitely a quality of the heart that we sometimes forget to talk about when we talk about how much love. There's so much suffering everywhere, but especially now in light of COVID. And for the sake of being too personal on this, but this is what we're trying to do, right? So, as an elected official, I just feel so much responsibility, and it's hard. It's really, really hard right now. So I can keep working on the love and holding the space of compassion. There's a lot of grief. So thank you.
Wow. I think what I'm very conscious of is that, you know, we're kind of spiritual beings on a human journey, and that there is a delight in this human experience, and there is a healing and hope that comes when we connect with the divine or the sacred or spirit, whatever we call that. But there's also this, as Lisa's reminded us, this really painful and sane awareness that things aren't the way they're meant to be, and that our aspirations and hopes, as high as they may be, are very limited by our own selves and by our capacity. We get in the way. And so how to be a portal to love and peace and compassion, how to keep a sane awareness that this is our responsibility, but it isn't our responsibility, that it's a dance with the divine and the spirit, and that, you know, Narayan and Maya, you're two incredibly impressive young people and thousands connected through this Goi process. How amazing is that, Yashio? But, you know, and our hope is in you, but you're not solely responsible for this, and we're not solely responsible for this. All that we're called to do is to be an open portal, to get out of the way, you know, to be a free flow of that, and not to get hooked in that. So when we experience deep pain and grief, or, you know, energy and aspiration and hope, to see that as a gift, but as mindfully as we can, just to become a channel of that free flow in both directions and that healing power. So that's where I get hooked, you know. It's not about me. This is not, I'm not called to be the Messiah. I'm not called to be the savior of the planet. That's our shared work, but it's a privilege to be involved in that, and that hurts, and that energizes us and gives us hope.
I feel like a word that really stuck with me was empathy. Empathy towards everyone around us, empathy through understanding and compassion, and empathy for other people's experiences and ethnicities and cultures, and all of that. It all just comes together into one word, and it's empathy. And I really like what you said, that it's not just about us, it's about everyone. And even harmony, I really like that word, because only when we realize that it's not just about us, it's about everyone, then we will obtain the true harmony. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your meditation. And when I thought of that, there was, as was mentioned, a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of struggle with what has been manifested within this reality. And I can very palpably feel that. But then considering different perspectives, I saw, yes, within this pain, there is variety, there is diversity in the broadest sense of the word, and there is an experience that is really inherent and beautiful within this very complex thing that humans have labeled reality. And then within that, and with that recognition, I then sensed a feeling of hope in that there is, because of that diversity of experience and that breadth, there is possibility of the highest quality and the highest consciousness versions of that. And then that kind of transition to at the very end, more of a high note of there is hope at the collective scale. And as I exited the meditation, as I returned to Narayan perceiving and listening, there was the aspect of what can I as a perceiver now do after having gone through that experience to then take my role in manifesting that forward. So that's kind of the journey that I kind of experienced through that meditation. So again, thank you very much for facilitating that.
Welcome. And now the last question is, what was the value that you will take away from our conversation today? So if you understand that question, I'm really asking about what resonated with you? What was the most important takeaway for you in our conversation today, Yashio?
Thank you. It's very hard to pick a big one, but I resonated with education and leadership, as someone mentioned, and also from probably the heart. Everything comes from heart. So thank you. Envisioning was powerful to me. Thank you so much.
Wow. But there's so many. I'll start with just that I feel so grateful to be sitting with so many people who are really choosing to focus on heart and care. I feel very grateful for the reminder, thank you, Terry, of just, we're spiritual beings in a body, basically, and there's only so much we can do, and that we're part of we're part of a whole, and we're all working together on that. And so that's definitely a good thing. I think too, the reminder again of solve all challenges with love and care. And let that be the guide through education. Let that be the guide through healing. Let that be the guide through everything. Yeah. So I feel like I could ramble on about this for a long time, but I know we're short on time. So I just really want to say thank you for inviting me to be with everyone here and letting me be part of this process, laying a very wonderful process. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who's here.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity as well. I used to say that I was one of the most beautiful people I'd never met. And then I met myself. And moments like these are an experience of meeting myself in the other. You know, Narayan, thank you, my friend. We've never met before. We might never meet again. But I feel as though I've met myself in your place, in your time, doing it your way. You know, the same with you, Maya. You know, I've never been a woman before. I've never been to India before. I've never, you know, been passionate about the things that you're passionate about. But I feel as though I've met part of myself. Lisa, you know, I feel for you, my friend, in California, Yashio, you know, just remembering the 75th anniversary of that horrific attack, you know, that started this work. Yeah, so it takes some pressure off to meet 6 other people who are passionate and doing this hard work individually and collectively. It means that I don't have to do it all. And I'm very grateful for our common humanity and our, you know, work in that space. Thank you.
So people say that, one second. Sorry, our power just went off, so it's a little, yeah. So people say that your brain really comes alive at 3 in the morning, and it's 3 in the morning to me. So I feel like everything that I'm saying right now is from the deepest part of me. And what really resonated with me was how we have a lot to learn from each other. We don't just learn from our own experiences, our own cultures. We learn from each other's experiences, each other's point of views and cultures and traditions. And I feel like that's what happened here today. We learned a lot from each other. Yeah.
I think when I reflect on this conversation, what most resonated with me were 2 aspects. The aspects of a reminder, and I know Terry used that word a lot, a number of different times, but understanding that there are, for example, in me as a perceiver, there are different aspects of my experience that I may have been reminded by in this conversation, but there are also, say, reminders that I can give to others of things that like they're wonderful at, even if they may not have ever known that themselves, or if they may not remember that as this very moment, as ways that they can then be the best possible individuals that they can be to then serve the collective to the greatest degree. That's one aspect of a reminder. And the last thing is the aspect of heart. I think seeing, and thank you again for sharing the peace process, seeing the way in which heart work can be done in the specific process that you guided us through, as well as being able to really feel that at a collective level and understanding that through this work, if done sustainably and if done at high levels with both perceivers and this like theater of reality, and as we see in perceivers in our eyes, but as well as when we go into a meditation or in a different state of consciousness and we feel to the greatest degree all of reality, and we're able to say do that like differently or at the same time, there is an aspect of deep resonance and feeling that is able to be done in that sense. So it's really greatly appreciated and really resonated with me to see reminder and heart used in very different ways and in much more broader ways that really expanded my awareness. So thank you very much for this.
You're welcome very much. And as always, my reflection is it's an amazing process, and we use it time and again, and it's my privilege to do so. It's a real integration of head and heart, because I know all the people on this call, all the panelists are very intelligent, but they also have a very big heart. And that's what we bring to the world, is our energy. And but the integration, the mind can be a good servant of the awakened heart. And we hope to do that. Now I'm gonna turn the program over to Terry. I do encourage everyone to save the chat. And I, of course, I will do so before I end the call to complete. We will send a replay link to everyone and try to answer some of the questions that we weren't able to answer from the chat box through the email, all right? And with that, Terry, if you can close us out. And I, again, thank all of the panelists for their going through the peace process. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine, and it really has been a rich blessing and a kind of a portal, just a glimpse of so many amazing things happening and amazing people. Thank you for your leadership through that process. Lisa, thank you for representing the Charter's peace sector, but doing that in such an authentic and kind of personal way. We really feel for the people of California, the world's 5th largest economy, really struggling with coronavirus at the moment. Yashio, my friend, we really honour the work of the Goi Peace Foundation. We continue to grieve the sadness of that atrocity on our Japanese friends, are very mindful of the catastrophic impact of that. And so grateful for the prophetic leadership of the Japanese people in response to that, for building peace, and for the Goi Foundation's role in that, and your particular role. This essay competition is incredibly inspiring, and I think with Narayan and Maya's as previous recipients, we can just see how rich an experience that is, drawing together so many young people and animating them. And these are just 2 of thousands each year that Goi animate in this way, and that fills us with hope. Narayan, thank you for your passion and your work in the health sector. We're friends in that space as well. Just be reminded, it's not all about you. I feel that youthful energy and passion that I see in each of us, and we look forward to what you contribute, and take any pressure off you so that you can be fully who you are. Maya, what a wonderfully impressive young woman you are in that part of the world where the role of women and the place of education is so critically important. So, so thank you so much. You've added so richly to this, and we hope that many other people see this and are inspired. Our closing prayer, as complex and as simple as it is, signposted throughout the world in all sorts of places, but signposted in each of our lives, is may peace prevail on earth, and the reminder that that peace begins with us. Thank you so much for being with us, and for the rich contribution. Let's go forward in peace, hope, and love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
May peace prevail on earth.
Thank you. May peace prevail on earth.
Thank you, and may peace prevail.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Good night.